No.
Yeah,
It's
that's
fun.
good. Yeah,
Okay, I'll fix the sweet corn.
Sweet. All right. Good evening. I'd like to call the January 13th meeting of Finance Committee of the Whole to order at 6:01 p.m. We will start with roll call. Carl Johnson here. Sherry Giesky.
Here.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Here.
Dave Wiltsey. Dave Wiltsey. He was calling in remotely, so we'll try him later. Ray Larson.
Here.
Steve Schabacher. Jeff Carlisle.
Here.
Ryan Curry.
Here.
Bill Robertson.
Here.
Sherry Bartell. Sherry Bartell. I thought I saw Sherry online. No. Rodney Riley.
Here.
I know Sherry was ill earlier this week, so hopefully she's feeling better. Dave Wiltsey, did you by chance pop on yet? All right, not hearing him. Next up, I'd accept a motion to approve the administrative county of the whole meeting minutes from January 6th. Motion by Mr. Robertson, seconded by Mrs. Giesky. Any discussion? Roll call. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Giesky.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey. Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schabacher.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robinson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartell. Rod Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, I accept a motion to approve the agenda. Before we do that, actually, anything we need to adjust or change on the agenda?
No.
Okay, so I accept the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make a motion. Sorry.
Motion by Mr. Curry, second by Mr. Schabacher. Any discussion? Roll call. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Giesky.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schabacher.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, any public comment? None in here. I see none. Did we get anything emailed today?
No, not this evening.
No public comment emailed. One last time, I'll check quick for Dave Wiltsey or Sherry Bartell or either of you online. Just as a reminder, if you are, you have to push star 69 if you're on your phone in order to be heard. If you're not hearing them yet, no public comment. Ms. Giesky, the meeting is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Item 6.1 is the monthly treasurer's report. Mr. Newport.
Good evening, everyone. Just a little background before I get into my report, try to make this time useful. So most of the county's revenue streams are continuous, meaning we have revenue every month with some seasonal fluctuations. The big exception to that is property taxes, which come in chunks. They're distributed May, June, August, September, and a small final distribution in November. And the property taxes are a big enough chunk of the general fund revenue that any month that we don't have a property tax distribution, we're gonna see a negative cash flow, okay? That's just the reality of the seasonal nature of how property taxes work. So we did have a negative cash flow in December, and so that is normal. But I wanted to dive into that just a little bit for some fairly high-level analysis. And let's start tonight with the cash flow report for the second to the last page of my report this month. Keep going, scrolling down. There you go. We see that the general fund had a negative cash flow of $430-some thousand. Couple big things that impacted that. Number one, we got our check from the state for the Cures Act reimbursement that was upwards of $700,000. But December was a 3-paycheck month. Since we paid biweekly here at the county, there's always 2 months out of the year that have 3 paychecks. So those are expensive months. December was a 3-paycheck month. So those two anomalies, one positive, one negative, impacting this general fund cash flow and cash balance in the general fund going down some $430-some thousand. The other big thing that happened in December, always happens in December, is we pay our insurance premium for our general liability insurance. It's over $700,000, okay? It gets paid in December every year. So that didn't affect the general fund, that comes out of the tort fund. So when you look at that 018 tort fund number, and the tort fund doesn't have, its only significant revenue stream is property taxes. And so we paid that insurance bill, and that's why that fund is negative. Combine that with the other things, so in total, add up all the funds, we had a negative cash flow in December of negative $1.47 million. So I just wanted to provide that little bit of detail, and then we can go back to the front page and start with the summary and go from there. So we see the general fund down 432,000 and change, all funds in total down 1.4 million in fund balances. Again, being December and the realities of December and the 3-paycheck month and the bills we pay in December, that's pretty normal, okay? You can say that, so all those assets came out of the investment pool and out of the liquid accounts in the investment pool. So the assets in the pool are down at 1.4 million plus. The weighted average rate of the pool continues in its downward trend, as I discussed last month. Bright spot, I did buy a CD last month at 0.45%, which in this environment is a pretty good rate. Gonna buy another one this month at that same rate. So that'll help stabilize the interest rates for a little bit. And we still have CDs maturing that were bought, back when we were getting more than 2%. Looking on my investment pool balance sheet, on the first page of the balance sheet. So we got one maturing in December, in February, 2.5%. March, there's a couple, 1.4, 1.9. There's one maturing in May, 2.13. July, and then that's the end of the gravy train right there. And then beginning about August, when that CD matures in August, that's when those less than favorable rates kick in, and we'll see less interest revenue posted when we get to that point. Any questions so far about the financial report?
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, you said you got a rate of 0.45. Is it appropriate to ask where that is? I mean,
Stillman Bank.
Stillman Bank.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do they require a certain amount to hit that level, or?
I don't know specifically. Typically these are $1 million CDs. And so, I'm not going to their website and look at their rate chart. I send an email and say, hey, I have this CD maturing. If I renew it, what kind of rate would you give me? That kind of thing.
What's
So,
good is it's local.
yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Go ahead,
How
Bill.
much time do you have? 6 months, a year? How are you?
Talk about the length of the term on the CDs.
Term of the CD?
Okay. So if you look at the investment pool balance sheet, and I'll try to help you out with the secret code that's on those account names. So this one that's maturing in January, STI 065 CD 581, 2.5%, January 20th. So the STI 065 refers to the bank, still in bank. The 065 is the last 3 digits of the account number. And then CD 581, that's the number of days of that CD. So that's a 581-day CD that's maturing this month. The CD that we just bought goes out on the tail end of the ladder. So that's one maturing in February of 2022, and that is a 427-day CD.
Thank you.
So this is a laddered CD portfolio. So I set it up so that I have basically $1 million maturing each month, with the exceptions of June and September, because those are big revenue months from property taxes. So as we cash in CDs, if we need to use them to pay the bills, and the ladder gets shorter, when the property tax money comes in and I have money to invest, then I buy them and the ladder gets longer. And typically it's maybe a year and a half, 18 months out, and it fluctuates on either side of that. Okay.
Any other questions in the boardroom for Kurt? Any questions from board members on the phone? Okay, Kurt, go ahead.
So I had one other report that I included this month, and was the last page of the PDF file titled Bank Performance Data. This is just offered for information. I subscribe to a service called VeriBank, and they provide me with bank ratings and data from basically every bank in Illinois. And so I've included on this report the banks that we're doing business with, basically. Now, there's not necessarily significant amounts of money at all of these banks right now, but these are the banks that we typically do business with. So there, when you read the narrative underneath that, you see that the green, triple star is their highest rating, and all of these banks are receiving that rating. It also says that about 87% of the banks that they rate receive that rating. So it's not like they're grading on the curve, but what they do is they go out and they look at their quarterly reports, their call reports that are filed with the FDIC, and based on several factors, they rate these banks. Most of these banks have that double B after the rating, and they say that unusually high standards and exceptional attention to safety and soundness. So you can see that you look at the equity column. Generally, well capitalized would be 7% or more. I mean, these are all 9.9% or better. So just in terms of perspective, if you remember Amcor Bank, when the feds went in and took them over, they were under 3% equity, okay? Somewhere between 2 and 3%. So the equity is what the bank has to absorb losses if losses happen. So anyway, that's the perspective on equity. You can see that they're all making money. They're all profitable. So that's just thrown out there to kind of reassure the board and the citizens that our money is invested in banks that are sound, well-capitalized, profitable, and well-managed. So that's all I have. Any questions on the bank performance data?
Here in the boardroom? Any questions from board members on the phone?
This is Dave Wiltsey. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are, Dave.
Oh, great. That's great. I've been on all along, but I've been playing with the access. Okay, thank you. Let me back up, Kurt. And you said you were opening $1 million CDs. Is that correct? One.
Typically, I buy CDs such that I have $1 million maturing each month.
Okay. So my question is, since it's over the FDIC limitation, what's the collateralization you use?
So in all of the banks where we have more than $250,000. Since that is the limit of FDIC insurance is $250,000.
Right.
We have a collateral agreement with those banks, and it's a three-party agreement. There's a third institution involved in the agreement that's a safekeeping institution. They pledge collateral, which is some kind of investment instrument that the bank owns. U.S. Treasuries, agencies, mortgage-backed securities, those kinds of things. They will pledge those specific investments. They're held by the third party custodian. And so this is one of those things. So this is what protects us from a bank failure is we have that collateral to secure our deposits. And I'm glad you bring it up because it's one of those things that our auditors will look at every year. They will look at the collateral reports from the third-party institutions and make sure that we don't have money that's out there unprotected.
And I don't want to be presumptuous, so I'll let you explain. I don't know if this issue's ever been raised before. Kurt, if you just want to explain what I was asking and why.
Well,
I mean, maybe the board members already know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, so, that's, the Illinois Constitution says that the treasurer shall receive and safely keep all the monies of the county. It's my job to make sure that the money is invested in a safe manner. So we have to protect ourselves from a bank failure. FDIC protects us up to $250,000, and beyond that, we have to take extra measures. And so the Illinois Public Funds Investment Act specifically provides for this method of collateralizing excess deposits from units of government specifically. It's not something that's available to a large corporation or even an individual, but it's something it's an avenue that's available to governments to just make sure that their money is protected.
Anything else, Dave?
No, I understand, and I just wanted to, in case that whole concept hadn't been gone into before, to have Kurt have an opportunity to just explain it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for Kurt? Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Let's see, moving on, 6.2, just as a little follow-up to what Kurt was talking about, the Wall Street Journal did a 3 full-page interview with Jamie Dimon. I don't know if you saw it. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and something resonates. JP Morgan Chase is the largest financial institution in the country. They have 50% of the households and 400 of the 500 Fortune companies. Anyhow, his statement was, things are very fragile. And I think that's kind of what we're all hanging on by our fingertips. Fragile, I thought. Said a couple other things too, but that was, I think, pretty important. Okay, admin. Dan, is it Dan?
So for the December 2020 monthly financial report, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over the December numbers. It's just a single month, and so it's really hard yet to really pull out any trends or anything what we're seeing. But I do want to highlight just a couple of things really quick. So the first thing, I think it's good news. It's not a lot of money, but we've already received the January disbursements for some of the major revenues, and I noticed that the cannabis use tax amount was $2,113, which is a new high for the county. It really is.
Say that.
That's a good way to say it.
It really is. So that's good news. We only budgeted 14, but if it ends up being $2,000 a month or so, it's not a lot of money, but 24 will be better than 14. So that's something that we did see this month. As the treasurer mentioned, we did receive a big chunk of the local cure funding, a significant chunk of that funding in December. We've submitted for 100% of our amount. And then I did want to let the board know that we've requested additional funding in the amount of $100,000 from that local care program in case any of that money is unspent and there's the belief that it will be reallocated to those counties that still have some expenditures that they can use. So we've submitted that. On page 2 and 3, I did want to highlight really quick some of these major revenue sources. So again, and especially for the new county board members, these 6 revenue sources account for 34% of the general fund. As Kurt mentioned, property tax is the largest chunk at 42%. So we really track these other 6 closely throughout the year. Sales tax through January, so that's 2 months on these numbers. It's a little bit lower than where we projected, and we budgeted low this year. I have them as yellow just because, again, it's only 2 months. It's hard to know where it's going to go from here. The good news, I guess, and again, offsetting the sales tax would be for the first 2 months of the year, we've seen really good numbers for income tax. We've seen that continuing. So that's already blowing our projection out of the water there. Same thing with personal property replacement tax is doing really well. And then the local use tax, which had a great year last year, just really continues to do well in December and January. So again, I marked them all as yellow just as kind of a caution. We don't want to make too many assumptions here so early in the year. And then you can see just visually, Kevin, if you scroll down, so just visually there, that's the general fund, that's revenues. So the blue is property tax, and then the orange and gray and yellow and the small blue, those are the 6 that we track. The green is everything else, and that's just under a quarter of the general fund revenues. On the expenditure side, not really much to report on. As the treasurer mentioned, it was a 3 payroll month, so the numbers are high when we compare them to last year in December. I did want to note that because the county reached an agreement with 4 of those unions that were outstanding, we did see, or we will see next month, you'll see that back pay to the tune of about $133,000 hit in January. So that'll be on next month's report, just as an FYI.
Anything else, Dan? Any questions for Dan from board members in the boardroom? Any questions for Dan from board members on the phone?
I just wanted to compliment the staff for this because been around a long time with government, and this is a nice presentation. I'm enjoying the board docs. I'm enjoying being able to see this stuff and the pie chart and the whole thing. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dan? I have a quick one. Dan, in the income tax, we have that an increase, you mentioned the increase in the income tax. Any insight as to what impact the last stimulus had at all?
I haven't read anything specific to the stimulus and the impact on the income tax. To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised by the really good numbers for December and January.
Me too.
Everything that I've been reading really has been forecasting the hit this year in income tax in 2021. And so we haven't seen that through the first 2 months. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out here over the next 6 months.
I think the interesting thing too is kind of circling back to what Kurt said also. Banks are so flush with cash because so many people put their stimulus into their savings accounts. These banks are just, and that's another reason we can't get, intercept them. They're just so flush with cash. Interesting times, I think. Anything else, Dan? Okay, thank you very much. What are we up to? We're back to Kurt. 7.1, property tax abatement, alternate bond series 2015. Oh, no, that's not Kurt. That's you again. I'm sorry, Dan.
This is something that the county does every year. These are for the refunding bonds from 2015. So these are courthouse bonds that were issued and then refunded in 2015. What this does essentially is they're alternate revenue bonds. And so when the county issued these bonds in 2015, we pledged an alternate revenue source that's not property tax. The alternate revenue source for these bonds is sales tax. And so every year, essentially, we look at the numbers and determine that there's enough funding to cover from the alternate revenue, which is sales tax, to make the bond payments. And so then you abate the extension on the property tax, so you don't have to extend property taxes to pay off this debt. So it's just really a technical thing that, again, the county does each year.
Any questions for Dan? I think what we're looking, let's finish up with the questions. Any questions for Dan from board members in the boardroom? Questions for Dan from anyone on the phone? All right, I think what we're doing is looking for hang on a minute, because I'm behind. I think we're looking for a motion to approve ordinance 2101.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Steve Schumacher to approve forward ordinance 2101 onto the county board. Any more questions or comments? Carl?
Is that, maybe I'm not looking, so I see it's 2015A, that's alternate sponsor, is this what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Just not listed here, I don't have it pulled up. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. Yeah, all right, my bad, never mind.
Oh, that's all right. Any other questions or comments? Chairman, would you like to call the roll?
Ledley. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Easky.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar. Yes. Dave Wiltsey.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Shabak. Yes. Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ronnie Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel, did you join us by chance?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Sherry, how do you vote? Sherry, how would you vote on that?
I voted yes.
Yes, okay. Super. For the record too, I just want to make sure the record reflects that Dave Wiltsey and Sherry Bartel have both joined the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, Dan, yes, very nice presentation on that too. Appreciate it. Item 7.2, sorry, motion carries by the way. Item 7.2 is the Highway Department 2021 truck bid. Kevin or Dan, are you taking it or are you on the line, Justin?
Justin's on the line.
Okay, go ahead, Justin, please.
So what I put on board docs is the bid results for a replacement truck for an existing 2000 Sterling. So it's going on 21 years old now. Sterling, it's was scheduled and budgeted to be replaced this year. We had a bid opening January 7th, and the results are on board docs here, the bid tabs. We had a real good competitive bid process, and so I've got two bids part of this truck package. One is for the chassis, and one is for the body. That would include the salt spreading mechanism, the box, and the the dump bed and plow mechanisms. So these bids are in line with what we've seen in the past and very consistent. We try to it sounds like maybe 15, 20 years ago, the truck rotation was on a 10 to 12 year cycle. We're currently on a 20-year cycle or 21 as in this vehicle. I think long range, I'd like to shorten that down a little bit more, but we do have 6 tandem trucks in our shop. So this is replacing the oldest one. It is definitely needing replacement. Part of the bid package is a optional trade-in portion, and the reason I do that as optional is I do give some of the local agencies the opportunity to purchase that truck if they so choose at the optional bid price, so I can pull it out of the bid and give our local guys so it doesn't have to go back through a dealer and then they purchase it. So it kind of cuts out it gives us the option of cutting out the middleman. All of our local agencies have the local agencies that would be interested in this have looked at it and they certainly don't want to touch it, and we recommend that as well. It's we did get anywhere from I think the low was $3,000 to $12,500 for the trade-in. So it is time for this truck to be replaced. My recommendation to the committee is to approve the two parts separately. So I would request that we have two actions taken. One would be for the truck equipment, and that would be our recommendation would be to award that at the cost of $76,704 to Monroe Equipment. They have provided our 3 years ago, our last truck that we purchased. They provided the equipment on that truck, and we were very pleased with that. The price is very competitive, and they do a very good. They provide a very good product. So that would be the one item. The second item is the truck chassis. So that includes the dual axle truck chassis with the cab and the engine and the components. So this bid came in. The low bidder was International Truck Lakeside, which is over in Rockford. They came in at $105,496, and International, if you're familiar with trucks at all, they've gone through a lot of, they don't have a real clean past. They've had some issues with their Max Force engines, and it's really been a challenge for them to kind of recover from a lot of their past performance and quality issues. So, you know, they've got that, and they redid their engine. Gosh, I think it came out in April of 2018 or so. So it's only about 3 years old. So it doesn't have a lot of history on it. I did call around and check and did a lot of reference checks on who has it. One thing I would like to point out is that I have not been able to find, nor has the sales from Lakeside provided any references of any public agencies in Illinois. And I did check with all the county engineers in Illinois through our organization, and as far as I can tell, there are no new International Truck engines out there under public service within Illinois. They did provide a list of a couple of Indiana public agency users and a few up in Wisconsin. And I did check with them, and one thing that I would point out, those that are using it in those locations, you know, I would say that, well, they're all less than 3 years old, obviously, but most of them were like 1 or 2 years old. And, you know, I couldn't say that they had any issues any different than any other type of vehicle. So but again, it's only, you know, 1 to 2 years into the performance of that vehicle. So, you know, there's really not a good history. And then, you know, the last item with that is that our spec, they didn't meet the spec completely, and that's pretty common. These are very complex, and there's a lot of different specified items within these bids. So that's not necessarily uncommon, but there is definitely you know, areas where they didn't meet our spec as requested. So what we did was we looked at the second low bidder. Western Star is the second lowest bidder. So again, International was at 105.5 roughly. Western Star is 112,827. So we're roughly $7,000 more. If you look at a total truck package, including the dump box and that sort of thing, we're the total two packages together, we're about 4% higher. Or if you look at the chassis alone, we're 7% higher. So, and that's a Western Star. We have two other Western Stars in our fleet of 6. So this, if we would go with Western Star, half of them would be Western Star. We do, the guys in the shop enjoy working on Western Stars. They have a proven performance. There's a new Western Star service center just down the road, Highway 20 and I-90 in Hampshire. You can see it off the interstate there. So based on all of these factors, all of the past performance, and all the information, although I will say that International did come through at the last minute here, and they're really trying hard to get a truck out on the road under a public agency in Illinois. So they are providing some assurities and some documentation and some types of contracts to help get us over the fact that we'd be more or less a guinea pig for public facilities in Illinois. So they're really trying for the sale, but given all the facts and on top of that, we keep our trucks for 20 years. That is rather lengthy compared to a lot of our other agencies, and so we do a lot of our, I should say, we do all of the routine maintenance and repairs that we can with our equipment and shop services. We do it in-house. And it's always good to have common parts and common vehicles. So, there's a lot of aspects. And if we have a 20-year-old vehicle, I would want it. It would be nice to have it a common vehicle because we are going to be doing a lot of work on that. So based on all of these factors that I went through here, the Boone County Highway Department does recommend that we go with the second lowest bid, the most qualified. So we looked at the lowest bid, and we felt like its qualifications were in question. So we did consider the second lowest bid, and we believe the second lowest bid is more qualified. And under Illinois statute, we are able to choose that. And so that's the stance the Boone County Highway Department would recommend to the committee to choose Western Star at the $112,827. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Justin? Let's do the boardroom first. Go ahead, Carl.
Justin, you mentioned that the international truck doesn't meet the spec exactly. Looking through both bids, looks like the Western Star doesn't meet everything exactly. So what exactly does the international not meet that's of importance?
Sure. So if we go to the and I guess of importance, I would say that if it was not for the fact that they, if it wasn't for the other factors, the specification, not meeting the specification would not be an issue. So I don't think the not meeting the spec is not the make or break on this decision. But to answer your question on what it does not meet, so a couple of very minor things that it didn't meet. I believe there was a frame. Let's see here.
There was no frame and a couple other little minor things. So
yeah.
But there wasn't anything major that you saw that they didn't meet.
No, without a question. If it came down to strictly a spec, I would recommend the low bidder. But then when you put in when you analyze the past performance and all the other aspects, then that's when we consider the second bid. But yeah, strictly on spec, they're close enough. The intent of of our bid was met. And so they weren't thrown out of our bid at all by this at all.
And
Go ahead, Carl.
The Western Star, I believe it said it has a Detroit diesel. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. I'm yes, it is Detroit diesel, I believe. Yeah.
And the power on both motors, was that similar, or was the Detroit a little more powerful?
No, I think the horsepower was very similar. It was should be in the just 450 range, I believe.
Anything else, Carol? Go ahead, Jonathan.
Jonathan here. Do we have any experience with the Western Star with the emission control on the new stuff?
Yeah, I think across the board we have negative experience with the new emissions controls. I don't know that anybody's had a real positive experience with the new emission controls on the diesels. So that's why we asked for the 7-year extended warranty and the 100,000 mile extended warranty on this. But we do have the DEF diesel emission fuel and emissions controls on the newer vehicles, and we've had experience with it. Quite frankly, as far as the difference between the two, I'm not aware of any make or break on that, or if there's a difference, that would impact our selection based on the diesel exhaust emissions.
Thank you.
Steve, and then it'll be Ryan. Go ahead, Steve.
If this goes through, do you know when you expect getting delivery?
Sure. So the chassis, based on our bid requirements, the chassis would be due, I believe it was May 15th, and then at that point Monroe would take it over and outfit it with the equipment. And their requirement is, I want to say it was November 1st or November 15th. And there's in the past we haven't put in a deduct. In this bid, I did put in a deduct. So each day that they miss the delivery date, there is a penalty that we can assess on the value. It's a few $100s, I believe, per day. But all of the suppliers for both the equipment and the chassis, I've worked with them ahead of time to make sure that this would fit within a typical schedule, and most of the providers all were in agreement with it. So yeah, the chassis would be May 15th, and then the body would be November 15th, I believe.
Thanks, Justin.
Ryan Curry?
Justin, Ryan Curry here. Do we ever sell these privately, or do we always trade them in? I understand you getting guaranteed money when you trade it in and taking it a little bit more of a chance by selling it outright, but normally that chance is to get a little bit more money on it. Is it just something that's easier, that's hassle-free and kind of guaranteed money?
Yep. Sure, yeah, so that's a real good question. Historically, in the past, the county has always just done the trade-in and not get into any of that process. A few years ago, we started looking at optional trade-in, and we've actually turned over some of our equipment to some local agencies. Our last mower we turned over to the Boone County Conservation District, and tractor went to them as well. So we do that optional. I haven't taken it out necessarily on the private market to try to get some more money out of it, but we have sold some equipment through auction and through the surplus sites. One of the problems, though, that a lot of those places, and quite frankly, we could, if we have another entity that would come to us, tomorrow, and want to pay, if we pay $15,000 more than our optional trade-in, we can pull the trigger on that and do it right away based on our bid. So that certainly is an option. The only problem that we could encounter is if we were to take it to a auction house, then typically it's a no reserve type auction, with at least the ones that we've dealt with on the municipal side. And so when you give it to them for auction, you're whatever the result is what you get for it. So one nice thing about this is that all these bidders have had a chance to come out and inspect the vehicle, and so they fully understand it. So if we were to take it in auction, I'm not sure what the COVID situation is with them inspecting it at a auction site, but I'm not certain that would be a big difference in the price. But I always like to, like I said, I always like to have it as an option, so that if we do find something, because we are they don't take possession of this until they provide the I think it's a week or two after the chassis is provided. So we have till May 15th theoretically to make a decision to sell it or to like I said, I've gone to the townships and a lot of the other public agencies, and quite a few of them are short a truck. Leroy's had some truck issues, and actually Boone's had some truck issues. So I knew about those going into it, so I tried to work with them. In fact, actually, if we can help them out with something like this, I always try to make that work. But quite frankly, this truck is probably not going to change their issues that they're having. It's probably going to create more, because it's a 20-year-old rusting out. The dump bed's got quite a few holes in it and stuff like that. So yeah, I can look into that more, trying to sell it privately too, and see if there's any other options that I'm not trying. So it's a good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions from in the boardroom? Any questions for Justin on the phone?
I just would say that this is Dave Wiltsey, that I don't think you need to go any further. I'm pleased with your explanation. Yeah, I'm talking about the disposing of the other vehicle.
Yep, I agree. Anything else from anybody on the phone? And just the $7,300 difference is only $366 a year, spread if we're gonna keep it for 20 years. So I think you're doing the right thing, Justin. I have a quick question. Do you think that $12,000 potential trade-in is just scrap value?
Well, yeah, our last truck that we traded in was 23 years old. It was the old Oshkosh, and we got a really good trade-in value for that. I want to say that was $23,000, and that thing sat down in Monroe. Ended up with it Bunnell, and that thing, I think it might even still be sitting down there. And they can't sell it to make back their money. So it's I don't know. It's probably pretty close to scrap value prices, I would say. I'm sure there's some salvageable pieces, but it's probably close.
Thank you very much, Justin. Anything else? And Jonathan here is thinking maybe he should rethink for Leroy. No, I'm kidding. We're twisting his arm, Justin. Let's see. What do we need? A motion to move this onto the board?
I will say that Bob Donnelly did come down and look at it, and it is a manual transmission too, so it's a fully manual transmission, which actually puts another complexity into it when you're trying to control your front plow and your spreading salt and your wing plow, and so there's when you got a manual transmission added into it, it's not there's a lot of controls. So
I feel like an auctioneer here, Justin, because I think Jonathan is just about ready to say, go ahead, Jonathan.
I don't know what Bobby said, but we're not interested.
Arm twisting. I'm looking for a motion to move this onto the.
Ray's got something.
Oh, Ray, I'm sorry. Did you have something, Ray?
Hey, yes. Hey, it's just what is the name of the it's mentioned the new Western Star Service Center by US 20 and 990. What's the name of that location? Do you know?
I believe it's called Truck Country.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Okay. It's pretty. We went over and visited it. It's a pretty substantial facility, and we're really pleased that, because in the past we've had to either take most frequently whenever we had a Western Star issue, we had to take it up to right outside of Madison, and it's so having that close is just another positive.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone on the board, in the boardroom or on the phone? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Make the motion.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Jonathan Van Laar. Chairman, would you call the roll, please? Oh, I'm sorry, the motion is to move this onto the board for next Wednesday.
We need to specify which bid we're gonna go with that motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's going to be Truck Centers out of Morton, Illinois, and for the chassis, and Monroe for the box dump and spreader equipment, and for a total of $189,531.
And this is Justin. I did bid these separately. If we had two motions individually, since I did bid it individually, that might be.
That'd be good.
I think Bill actually made a motion to select Truck Centers for $112,827. Is that right, Bill?
I made that motion, then I'll make the motion.
And Jonathan seconded that. So first motion.
Got to vote on them individually?
Yep. First motion is for the chassis.
Carl Johnson, yes. Sharon Kieske.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Shabbat. Yes. Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Kurd.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
Yes.
Rodney Robbie.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Carl. The second motion I'm looking for is to award the box dump spreader equipment purchase to Monroe Equipment in the amount of $76,704.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Ryan Curry, seconded by Jonathan Van Laar. Any discussion? Mr. Chairman?
Carl Johnson, yes. Jerry Beaskey,
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Steve Shabazz. Jeff Carlo,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Let's see, where are we at? We're at item 7.3, resolution 2105, sale of delinquent taxes. I do believe, let's see, who's taking this one? Kurt?
I can. I'll get up to the microphone. There are, almost every county in Illinois uses a delinquent tax program that is a statutory process that is often referred to as the county trustee program. What happens is if there is a parcel with delinquent taxes and there is no tax buyer at the tax sale that bids on it, then by default, it goes to the county as trustee for the taxing districts. County as trustee becomes the tax buyer even though we don't actually pay for it. But we have a tax lien on the property. After the tax lien expires 2.5 years later, our agent on our behalf will obtain a court order for deed on that parcel. And then the agent will put these on a sealed bid auction. We have these sealed bid auctions every year, August, September neighborhood. Minimum bid is typically $797. We have a contract with our agent, Joseph E. Meyer, on how that money gets split up. The agent gets some, the county as trustee gets some. That money doesn't belong to the county, it belongs to the taxing districts as a whole. And a little bit there for recording fees. But anyway, typically we'll sell several parcels each fall when we have that sealed bid auction. But the agent will keep these parcels for sale. So basically anyone who comes along after they go through that auction, anyone who comes along with the minimum bid is allowed to buy it. So I believe we're just dealing with one parcel here. This is a bid that came in, after the auction was over with. So this is a parcel that nobody else bid on. And I don't, but long story short, when that happens, when we sell one of these parcels, the statute requires that the county actually take action to sell this real estate through a resolution. So whenever this happens, you'll see this resolution. And once the county board approves this sale, then the parcel the agent will prepare a deed for the new owner. The money that they paid gets split up according to that contract as I prescribed earlier. So that's, it's the way we take abandoned property and get it back on the tax rolls, and hopefully a new owner of that property will take care of it and whatnot. So any questions?
Questions for Kurt from board members in the boardroom? Any questions for Kurt from board members on the phone?
This is Dave Wiltsey. What's the property address?
I don't offhand know. Most of these properties are vacant lots without any structure.
Let me make it easier for you. Is it in Candlewick or not?
I honestly don't know. I didn't look.
It doesn't look like a pin for Candlewick, but I'm not sure.
I don't believe it's in Candlewick.
Is there an 03 parcel number? That would be Caledonia Township.
Which would be,
Okay.
Which could be Candlewick.
Could be,
So I mean, I honestly I didn't look at it. Couldn't tell you.
I don't think it's your house,
Just
Dave.
for the benefit of the board members, as a Kennebuck resident and a board member there, I'd like to circle back sometime more appropriate to a discussion of, we'd like to get some of these properties off the rolls and be active again, or otherwise break the cycle that's happening. And so I'm curious as to whether it's Kennebuck or not, and that's why I'm asking.
If I may,
Yes, please.
So the county trustee currently holds tax deeds on, I'm going to say, between 70 and 80 parcels countywide, maybe more. It's hard to keep up with. And I'm going to guess that somewhere between 40 and 50 of those parcels are in Kennewick Lake. They're empty lots in Kennewick, and what has happened over the years is, when you own a lot in Kennewick, you have to pay the HOA fees. Up until recently, you had to pay a water bill. They finally got rid of that, but you got to pay the property taxes. And when the real estate market was really suffering, they couldn't hardly give these things away, and they couldn't sell them, so they just walked away from them. They became an albatross to the owner, and the owner just walked away from them. And that's how we acquired all these. So what's it gonna take? Well, when the real estate market improves to the point where these Kennewick lots have some marketable value, people will buy them. We'll put them on our sealed bid auction, and people will start buying them. And ultimately, and some of them have been bought, some of them have been purchased by the adjoining property owner, so now they have a double lot or whatever. But all it takes is a healthy real estate market, especially a healthy market in Kennewick Lake, and these lots that are available for less than $800 will start to get snapped up.
Any follow-up?
This is Justin on the phone. Yeah, I just looked up that PID real quick, and it is Candlewick. It's on Cornwall Circle. It's the third drive to the north as you come in from the east entrance.
Thank you.
Okay, Dan, you had a question?
Justin beat me to it.
Oh, okay. And Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, there were significantly more of those parcels back when I showed up on the doorstep here. It seems that a lot of those Kennewick properties have been sold. Or am I wrong? I thought it was significantly higher. No?
I honestly don't believe the inventory out there has changed significantly.
Okay. I thought perhaps it had. Anything else for Kurt? So we need a motion to move this onto the board also?
Hey, Mr. Larson here.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, do we advertise in any way that these parcels are up for bid? I don't know if we don't, maybe we could do it on our county website, or what? How do people find out that there's parcels that can be bid on?
Great question, Ray, because, Winnebago County, went through a very highly publicized process over the last few years to change the way they do that. Now, Winnebago County, they never had Josephine Meyer as their agent. They had a different agent. What I understand is, number one, our agent goes out and they plant a sign right on the parcel itself. So anyone who drives by can see that it's for sale, including the neighbors. And they will run an ad in at least one of our local papers, whether it be the Journal or the Belvidere Republican, and basically advertise the fact that the county has these parcels for sale with a website where they can go to the website and look it up. They also mail postcards to adjoining property owners. And these being chiefly empty lots, the most likely person interested would be a neighboring property owner. So I know that they mail postcards to them. They have a pretty sophisticated process. Certainly, it would be possible for the county to try to promote this on our website. I'd be willing to look at that and see if there's more that we could do.
Anything, thank you, Kurt. Any follow-up, Ray?
I
Hey,
just have a
yeah,
question.
just a quick,
Go ahead.
yeah, just a quick comment there. Yeah, I would think if it was advertised in the broader area, it sounds like it's kind of constricted to kind of neighboring property owners and anybody that might be driving by that property. If we could somehow advertise it a little broader of an area, you know, we might get a little more action going on this stuff, you know?
Thank you. Was someone else on the phone trying to make a comment?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah,
Dave.
Dave Wiltsey. You know, I don't know if there are any other PUD HOA combinations in Boone County like Candlewick, but would it be possible for the Candlewick to get that postcard notification, the administrative office also?
Kurt is heading to the phone, Dave. Or I'm sorry, to the microphone. I left that first part off.
I'll
Did
be
you hear
happy-
that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll be happy to provide the Candlewick Association with any information they want. I know that in the past, we have provided them with inventories, with lists of what we have.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that has to be an ongoing communication. You make a good point, and next year when this happens, if you remind me, I'll make sure to reach out to you and the association, make sure everybody's in the loop.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Looking for a motion for resolution 2105, sale of delinquent taxes.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Ryan, seconded by Bill. Any further discussion? Mr. Chairman, would you be so kind to call the roll?
Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Geeske,
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Steve Schabacher. Yes. Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Bill Robertson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartel,
Yes.
Rodney Ryan.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you, Kurt.
You're welcome.
Item 8, intergovernmental reports or updates. Anything, Kevin?
No, not this evening.
Informational items, correspondence? Go
I
ahead.
have one item under correspondence. It's not really correspondence, more informational, but our office manager in the administration office wanted us to point out that she was able to get all the pictures up on the county board website. So that is now up there under board members. So it goes our illustrious chairman, and then we have everyone else. It's not formatted on here correctly. This screen is weird. So they don't really look like that. They're not all different sizes, but we do have them up there. They're actually more like District 2, how those pictures are. I don't know why this screen is formatting. But there we go, and then we'll get the new board member up there once they're appointed. So
Excellent.
that's all we have.
Anything else under informational items? Nothing for you, CCI Carl? Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that everybody got the email as to who was going to be appointed for the District 3 seat. Sometimes I don't go through, so.
I didn't hear that, Carl.
Just making sure everybody got the email regarding the District 3 seat as to who would be appointed, so I just want to make sure it went through.
Will he be?
I have to say, Madam Chairman and Mr. Chairman and Madam Committee of Finance Chair, it's amazing how clear those of us that are offline are in my audibility on my equipment, and how tinny and echoey Kevin and Carl and Sherry and some of you guys are. And I'm not sure what the difference is there, but I'd like to work on that so that we have a little bit better audio.
Dave, does this make it sound any better if I do this?
Nope.
That sounds worse.
I think it's the mic. I think it's
Yeah. We'll have to work on that.
That sounded good. Yeah, really, because I mean, I can hear Larson and others that are, and the staff members that are coming in, it's crystal clear. But when I hear those of you that are in the boardroom, it's a bad echo and it's tinny.
Okay, well, we'll work on that.
It's the joy of COVID. Another one. Okay, I think, is that it, everybody? I need one more motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to adjourn made by Ryan and seconded by Jonathan. All in favor, if I might?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you all very, very much.
I know we're all adjourned, but on a point of personal privilege, I just wanted to indicate my sister's surgery has been moved up a week till tomorrow, and that was part of my problem today. A lot of stuff to be done.
I hope she does well.